Today we're going to talk about one of the most intriguing figures in the Bible, King Solomon. Known for his wisdom, he also made mistakes that brought great consequences. Let's find out the 5 biggest mistakes of King Solomon. So, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and come with me. Solomon, son of David and Bathsheba, is one of the best-known figures in the Bible, reigning in Israel during a period of great prosperity. Known primarily for his wisdom, which was granted to him by God in response to a humble request, Solomon is also remembered for his great riches and for the construction of the magnificent temple in Jerusalem. His reign was marked by significant cultural and economic advancement, making Israel a center of trade and diplomacy in the ancient Middle East. However, even with all his achievements, Solomon was not immune to human errors and weaknesses. Despite his promising beginnings, he made several mistakes throughout his reign that had lasting consequences for Israel. His deviations from the divine laws and oppression of the people sowed discontent and division, highlighting the complexity of his personality and reign. Let's explore the 5 biggest mistakes Solomon made and understand how they impacted his life and the future of his kingdom. Mistake number 1: polygamy and foreign marriages. Solomon, in his quest to strengthen political alliances, married 700 wives and had 300 concubines, many of whom were foreigners. These marriages brought with them religious practices of other peoples, something that God had explicitly forbidden to the Israelites. Solomon's foreign wives not only introduced their deities, but also influenced the king to build altars for these gods in Israel. This influence was disastrous for Solomon's spirituality and for the nation. By allowing and participating in the worship of foreign gods such as Ashtoreth and Molech, Solomon violated God's first commandment, which forbids the worship of other gods. This spiritual deviation not only compromised their own faith, but also drove the people of Israel away from the strict monotheism that was the basis of the covenant with God, planting seeds of idolatry and infidelity that would have serious consequences in the future. Mistake number 2: idolatry. Influenced by his many foreign wives, Solomon made the grave mistake of deviating from the exclusive worship of the God of Israel. He built altars for pagan gods such as Ashtaroth, goddess of the Sidonians, and Molech, god of the Ammonites, allowing idolatrous practices to infiltrate Israel. These acts directly violated the divine commandments and represented a betrayal of the monotheistic faith that founded Israel's covenant with God. Solomon's idolatry had profound and lasting consequences. By abandoning the purity of his devotion to God, he not only compromised his spiritual integrity, but also weakened the religious and moral unity of the kingdom. The introduction of foreign cults and the construction of pagan altars in Israel contributed to the spiritual corruption of the people by planting seeds of decay that would negatively affect future generations. Mistake number 3: oppression of the people. During the reign of Solomon, its grand buildings, such as the Temple of Jerusalem and its luxurious palace, required a huge effort of the people. To finance and build these monumental works, Solomon imposed heavy taxes and forced labor on the Israelites, leading many to a state of dissatisfaction and revolt. This oppression created deep discontent among Solomon's subjects, who felt overwhelmed and exploited. After his death, the accumulated resentment among the people was one of the main factors contributing to the division of the Kingdom of Israel. The kingdom, which had enjoyed a period of peace and prosperity under his rule, ended up divided into 2 parts: the Kingdom of Israel to the north and the Kingdom of Judah to the south, weakening the nation and exposing it to conflict and invasions. Mistake number 4: disobedience to the laws of kings. The Bible in Deuteronomy establishes clear guidelines for the kings of Israel, including the prohibition on accumulating large amounts of gold, silver, horses, and wives. Solomon, however, disregarded these guidelines. He amassed immense wealth, imported horses and chariots from Egypt, and maintained a vast harem of 700 wives and 300 concubines. These acts of accumulation and extravagance drove him away from the divine precepts that were to guide his reign. This disobedience had significant implications for Solomon and his kingdom. By prioritizing wealth and military power, he distanced himself from the humility and dependence on God that characterized an ideal king of Israel. Marriage alliances with foreign nations also brought negative influences that eroded Solomon's religious devotion. The violation of these laws not only compromised his personal integrity, but also prepared the ground for Israel's eventual division and decline after his death. Mistake number 5. Abandonment of devotion to God. Influenced by his foreign wives and their religious practices, he failed to strictly follow the commandments of God. This spiritual distance was reflected in tolerance and even participation in idolatrous cults, compromising their relationship with God and their moral leadership over Israel. This abandonment had devastating spiritual and political consequences. By neglecting his devotion to God, Solomon not only compromised his own soul, but also weakened the religious and moral cohesion of the people of Israel. His lack of spiritual faithfulness sowed disunity and infidelity among the Israelites, paving the way for the fragmentation of the kingdom and the spiritual decay that would occur after his death. Solomon's mistakes, despite his wisdom and grandiose achievements, offer important lessons about human nature and leadership. His polygamy and idolatry diverted him from divine commandments, while the oppression of the people and disobedience to the laws of kings revealed an unbalanced search for power and wealth. In the end, his abandonment of devotion to God not only compromised his spiritual integrity, but also left a legacy of division and decline for Israel. Solomon's story reminds us that regardless of knowledge or achievements, it is crucial to remain true to fundamental principles and values. His life is a testimony to the consequences of moving away from true devotion and integrity, highlighting the importance of leading with wisdom, justice, and unwavering faith. By reflecting on their mistakes, we can learn to avoid the same paths and seek leadership more aligned with divine precepts.